I'm Srini, the creator of Maximize Your Output with MEM. Are you a teacher, educator, knowledge worker, or just a nonfiction enthusiast who wishes you could get more value from your books? This video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can build a custom GPT model that allows you to engage in really in-depth discussions about those books by enhancing your knowledge and asking you really insightful questions and allowing you to develop new insights. Now, let's get to the tutorial. So what I want to do in this tutorial is show you how you can build your own custom GPT model to facilitate a discussion about the books that you've read. This is great when you want to reinforce the ideas from the book, as well as see what other personal insights you can generate from the book. It goes far beyond just, say, capturing a bunch of highlights and notes, but turns this into a very interactive or dynamic process. And it's really different than basically taking a bunch of notes and telling AI to say, hey, write a summary for this book. So the purpose of this is that it guides you through a discussion that leads to learning and insight. So we're going to break this down into a few different parts. The first thing you have to understand is what is called the objective process and output framework. And I actually discovered this by accident because I was having ChatGPT outline how I might build a custom model of some sort. And I saw that it used this, and I thought to myself, wait a minute, why did you use that? So I asked ChatGPT about this. And it turns out that this is actually a simple framework that we can use for building all sorts of custom GPTs. But for this case, what we're going to do is we're going to focus specifically on being able to take the books that we have read and have more in-depth discussions about them to reinforce our learning, and also maybe expand our thinking, potentially leading to other insightful ideas and things that you could be able to use in other areas of work other than just collecting a bunch of information. So the reason the objective process output framework is so important is because first, we have to know what we're trying to achieve. That's what the objective is. And this allows us to be very clear with our language and our communication when we're working with AI. So that way the AI knows exactly what we're trying to achieve. So the process is how we will achieve this. And then the output is basically what we're aiming for. And this is where a lot of people run into problems with the AI. They're unclear, and the way they communicate is very difficult to understand. So as a result, they don't get very high quality output as a result of that. But by actually stating what the objective is and what your desired output is right from the start, you're much more likely to get something that works for you. So in this case, we're going to tell it we want to build this book model. Now, the other thing is the process. And what's really cool about this is that ChatGPT will actually come up with the process for you. And then based on what it looks like when it's done, you can modify it. You can say, okay, let's make some changes. So what I've done here is basically outline this. I've got a prompt, and we're going to give ChatGPT this framework as well, so it knows what we're talking about. And basically what it will do is it will then outline all the steps, and then we'll go into how we configure the custom GPT. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this and go over here to ChatGPT, and I'm going to just paste this entire piece of text along with the prompt into a standard ChatGPT window. You will need to use GPT-4 for this because GPT-4 is what has access to these different features. So if you have a standard ChatGPT or you don't have a ChatGPT Plus subscription, then this isn't going to work. A couple of things here. You can see here that we gave it some very clear instructions. And basically, the cool thing about this is we can literally just cut and paste this into our configuration. So basically what we'll say is set it up so that it knows, hey, I'd like to discuss the latest book I've read. So basically we need to give it a few more instructions. And you can see here that it says, okay, the AI prompts the user for the title of the book they wish to discuss. So the really neat thing about this is that you can program a custom GPT to do things using nothing but English. You don't actually need to be a programmer. You just need to be able to communicate what you want to achieve clearly. So we've got this objective process output framework. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and configure our GPT model. So the way we do that, if you go over here to explore GPTs, you'll see that they have a bunch of different GPTs that other people have built, that the team at OpenAI has built. And we can create GPTs to do all sorts of different things. You can see here that you can do some for research and analysis, and this is something that would fall into that category. So if you go here, you'll see an option that says create. And what we're going to do is we're going to configure it. This is where we're going to put the instructions for this GPT. So basically, I'm going to just call this Book Buddy for now. And we'll say, discuss your latest book with me as a description. So we'll say, discuss the latest book you've read with me. So keep in mind here, I set this GPT up so that it doesn't require you to upload any data. But if you wanted to, you could actually upload different knowledge so that it can reference that. So in this case, we're going to set it up so that it only references it or requires zero knowledge that you have to upload. Now, keep in mind, if it doesn't know what the book you've read is, then you might have some problem with this. For example, if it was a book that was published last week, it may not be able to reference that or have information. So you will need notes for that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to paste these instructions into here. We've got Book Buddy GPT, and I'll just put in a simple conversation starter, and it'll be, I want to discuss the latest book I've read. And now we've effectively built a simple GPT model that allows us to discuss the books we've read with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to click here. You can see that we have save. And sometimes you'll see this happen where it says something went wrong. And it's really up to you whether you want to make this available publicly or not. For the sake of this demo, I'm going to go ahead and just say, okay, you know what, this is going to be for my own personal use. And so I'm going to confirm this. And now we have effectively built a custom GPT model to help us discuss whatever book we've read. And so now we're going to go and put it to the test, and let's actually have it talk about a book that we've read. All right, so now that we've built the model out to help us to discuss books, let's actually see how it works. I'm going to show you two ways to do this. The first way is going to be just talking to it via text as you would normally. You would just type in, and I've already put in a pre-written prompt here. So we're just going to say, I want to discuss the latest book I've read, and it'll give you some options here. And I'm just going to say, I've read Made to Stick. And then what it will do is it will ask if I have any notes based on how we set it up. But what I can actually just say is, I don't have any notes, but why don't we talk about let's just say I don't have any notes and see what it comes back with. And so here's what's great about this is it actually helps us to dive deeper, even if we've not necessarily taken notes. So in this way, what we're doing is we're doing it just via text, but I'm going to show you another way to do this just using your phone with the ChatGPT mobile app. And what I found is that there was a richness and depth to the interactions that I would have in these ChatGPT conversations when I was interacting solely via audio versus just typing. And it turns out we tend to be a lot more free flowing, and that's why. So this is how we could do it here. So for this portion, we're going to stop right here. And then the next piece, I'll show you how to do this using your mobile device. So you can see here that I've got my iPhone screen mirrored, basically showing the same configuration here. And instead of having a conversation via text or written text, I'm going to do it via audio. And this provides a lot of benefits because it tends to enrich the depth. We have a much easier time talking than we do writing for the most part. And so it takes the conversation in multiple interesting directions. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell it, I want to discuss the latest book I've read, but instead of typing the prompt, I'm going to do it via audio. Hey there, I want to discuss the latest book I've read.
That sounds great. What's the title of the book you'd like to discuss?
It's called Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath.
Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath is a fascinating read. It explores why some ideas survive and others die, offering insight into making ideas sticky, memorable, effective, and capable of sparking change. Before we dive deeper, do you have any specific notes or insights from the book you'd like to share, or any particular aspect you're interested in discussing?
No, not at the moment. Could you just generate some questions for you and I to discuss the book?
Absolutely. Let's get started with some thought-provoking thought-provoking questions. The Heath brothers emphasize the importance of simplicity in making ideas sticky. Can you think of a concept or idea from the book or outside that is a great example of simplicity making it memorable? 2. Unexpectedness. How do the authors use the element of surprise or unexpectedness to engage their audience?
I've stopped it there, but you can see basically what it will do is it will give you a list of questions for the purposes of a discussion. And so that ends up being really useful. So this can be used for any kind of book. If you're a teacher, it could be used in the classroom, etc. So just to recap all of the steps in this process, the first thing we have to do is we have to define an objective. That's what we're trying to achieve. In this case, we were developing a custom GPT to help us discuss nonfiction books. The second piece is the process. And the truth is that you actually can have ChatGPT figure out the process by telling it, this is my objective, this is the output I'm expecting, and it will actually come up with the process for you. And then what we're going to do is we basically go through this first step where we use a prompt. And as we went through in a demo, we then configure the model by building our own custom GPT by going over to Explore. We take the instructions that a regular ChatGPT conversation generated, put it into the model, and then initiate a discussion. And this can be a really powerful tool if you're a teacher, if you're just somebody who is into lifelong learning and reads a lot and you want to go deeper into your books and even not just synthesize the ideas, but generate original ones. And I think it really changes the nature of our interactions with AI to make them much more dynamic instead of one-sided and the command and control. It's like, hey, ChatGPT, do this for me type of approach. And as always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below.